Jeff.
Oh, Patrick.
Patrick?
Nice to meet you.
Stan. Stan? Yeah. Nice to meet you. Good to meet y'all. Keep going.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? So you're doing I had a crazy just how you're thinking.
This is one of our great sponsors, and the infamous Richard Waymeyer. Thanks you guys for sponsoring. One of our great sponsors. Our sponsors, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I was just looking at your badge ribbons here. This is cool. Dork. Maybe can I?
So we have a number of tools for the database. So we have a developer tool, Toad, which will help with T-SQL, SQL tuning. We do Spotlight and Foglight, which are premier monitoring products.
These are our friends from Talavant, all the way from Madison, Wisconsin.
Because I'm drunk, drinking a bunch of water.
All right, so tell us very quickly about Talavant.
We are a business intelligence consulting firm. We help companies with data strategy, data architecture, and implementation. And more specifically, we focus our services around the Microsoft BI platform.
Fantastic. She's good. I can see why you hired her. Hey, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great, Paul. How are you?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Nice hat.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's my speaker hat, my beret with the
It's a raspberry
little
beret.
pen. It is a raspberry beret.
It's hard to find in a secondhand store.
Yes. But if it's warm, I still wear a lot more.
All right.
All right. So tell us about Atunix.
So Atunix is a consulting practice. We're a Microsoft partner. We do advanced analytics, so we do a lot of data science and visualization, and we have consultants all over the country, and we do a lot of good things for people.
Okay, cool. But you're a longtime friend of the community, and you're based in Denver.
I am. I'm based in Littleton, Colorado.
Yep. Hey, Warescape people. All right. Well, thanks for sponsoring, first of all. So these are our friends from Warescape. All right. So tell us very quickly about Warescape.
Warescape, we're a data warehouse automation tool, so we automate all the way from the ETL to the data visualization. Yeah.
All right. Well known, good stuff. A lot of people say good things about Warescape. Warescape Red. All right.
Red,
Fantastic.
Data Vault.
And you're giving out sunglasses. All right, good morning. Good boy, sunglasses seem to be the theme
We got
today.
some nerd sunglasses.
Yeah, those are awesome. All right, well I'll pick up a pair. So tell us why you're here at Oregon SQL Saturday sponsoring.
Well, SQL Server runs on Windows or Linux, and all that can run on Dell. So we've got solutions to back up, accelerate, replicate SQL. So we've got lots of solutions to take that.
Okay. And Dell has been a long-time sponsor of past events for many years.
Yeah, we'll be up there next week at this coming up week in Seattle.
Fantastic. Really appreciate it. Okay, here's our friends from Idera, and very well-known SQL Server tool fit. So tell us real quickly about Idera tools.
So Idera has all the tools from development to management to help an EDA get all their ducks in a row.
All their duck. Okay, all right, good. You know what? I use your ducks. I've always used your ducks to park my car. So I always hang an Idera duck from the ceiling in my garage, so that it hits the windshield and I know that I've parked.
Are you hanging it by the neck?
I have, but not currently. No, I actually drilled a hole in its back. Well, thank you so much for sponsoring.
And then you can build
custom advisory conditions to capture that information. So I know you definitely can. I have to go do a little bit of homework for you, but I can definitely find that information. So drop me an email or drop me a DM about that as a reminder, just so that I have a look. Actually,
All right, this is Andy Yoon from Century One, who's one of our great sponsors here. All right, Andy, tell us real quickly about Century One and why you're here.
oh wow, so Century One, we do all sorts of stuff as far as giving you solutions to the Microsoft data platform. So we're most well known for monitoring your SQL Server environments, but with our recent acquisition of PragmaticWorks software, we now offer you solutions for the entire workflow of software development, or the entire life cycle, I should say. So development, QA, testing, all sorts of different stuff. So
Okay, and you're a sponsor here today at Oregon SQL,
yes.
and you win the prize for having the largest raffle item, or at least the largest box, and it looks impressive.
Yes.
What are you raffling off today?
So we have a Millennium Falcon drone today. So something kind of cool, a little bit
Nice.
different, and hopefully eye-catching. So.
Okay.
That's what, 54 plus 5, 59 plus 5 is 64.
All right, and this is Derek. He can do math. Joe.
Yeah, so now you have a camera that does it. The camera also has an accelerometer. And this is a model to see monthly monetization and where the revenue is coming from. So you're doing a well So you're doing a well
Hamish, he's studiously prepping his presentation at his little desk here that remind you of grade school.
A little bit. Right. I fit in a lot better when I was younger.
Yes, I think that's true of all of us. Help yourself. There are pins as well. Yeah. All right.
Is the French version of SQL Saturday Oregon?
Yes, it is. Right. Only if you're here, you have to say Oregon.
Excuse me, Oregon.
Oregon.
So I said that. My wife, who's from California, corrected me.
Well, that's because she's from California.
So you say Oregon.
Gun.
No, I mean,
Gun.
Everybody else says. Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Everybody who's not here, and that's how we know that you're not from here.
I could have pulled it off, but she corrected me.
Oregon.
All right, I'm gonna.
Oregon, yes.
I should video you saying that so that I can.
Integer versus big. I guess compatible.
Compatible. The precedence is different.
But at the same time, I couldn't like union and a text.
Yeah, this is like management.
Okay. As well. And again, I mentioned the extract, transform, and load, so knowing how to do things like coding in Python would definitely be considered advantageous. Again, good salaries here in the Portland area. Again, if you were interested in being a data analyst, these would be some sessions that I would recommend going to today that have a little bit more of an impact.
Show you what this looks like. And once again, these will be available on the website. My machine decides to come back. So I've got a database, and so I've got two databases. Here, there's Trendlog Demo Batch and Trendlog Demo Single. And they contain a table, and I am going to run deletes from both of them. And in one case, I'm going to batch those deletes. So I am grabbing a max or min date, so the smallest date in my table, and then I'm grabbing a max date. So So, and these are being explicitly coded, begin transaction, commit transaction. At the same time, or in a different.
Said, my opinion, it's not Microsoft's opinion, okay? So take it, what's your word?
What's the performance overhead for always encrypted versus formal encryption? Do you notice a difference?
The real difference is this, okay? So what you're doing with, when you're talking about the encryption and decryption process, you're actually moving the CPU usage off your SQL Server onto your web or app server. Because remember, it's all happening through the .NET layer. So you're actually moving, all you're doing is picking up, and now all your performance is now going to be on your web and app server.
Have you come to take my photo? I'm doing a presentation with all of these people here.
Yes, I'm doing candid recordings.
Candid recordings are amazing.
I did that in Poland. A professional video crew coming in, and they would come up to the speaker like this whilst they were talking. So as he walks in from the back of the room, I just walked towards him. I kept walking towards him, and then walked around him, and he had absolutely no idea what to do. We don't need to. It's embedded in here. All of these good blog posts. And examples. How do we use it? So this is where you're going to start. Here we go. It tests all the link servers for a SQL Server instance, SQL 2016, and output the results to the file. That sounds like something I might want to do. You don't even need to think about it. This is how easy it is for you to get started.
And what I did is I felt overwhelmed. I had all of these slides. I couldn't figure out how to group them, how to organize them, how to sort them. And I just said, I just need to go for a walk. So I got dressed, I stepped out, and I walked around my neighborhood for an hour. And for an entire hour, I was pacing like this. And I was, okay, how do I do this? Okay, I have all of these different topics. What's the main thing? What's my main storyline? What's my key point that I want to share here? And that's where I came up with this idea. Okay, well this is a performance. You can kind of think of it as a movie theater or something like that. What are the important things, right? We have, you know, the things that you do, so things like body language and voice. Okay, we can group that into person. Then we have the slide deck and demos. Well, all right.
So one of the ways we can do that is we can actually use our R script as a data source for our Power BI report. So we can connect directly to that script, bring in that data, and to embed it into our report. We can use the R script as in the Power Query editor as a transformation step, an applied step. Does everyone here use Power BI regularly or has used it before? No? Okay. Oh, well, yes, this side of the room, yeah.
Plus and minus that you have to think about when you're doing these type of evaluations of where do you put all of the logic, you know, as always. Anybody else have any questions about using DAX or Power Query? I do both. I mean, I'll be honest. It's kind of, you do have to make that determination. Am I gonna, yes, I did include some links down below there that you can actually get the references for both Power Query and for DAX to take a look at it. And maybe there's a specific function that only works in DAX and doesn't work in Power Query. So that's the other thing.
And you have to store a social security number. How many digits is a social security number? 9. Is it ever 8? Is it ever 10? Nope. 9. It's always 9. So that is a good candidate for a chart, for a fixed length. What about a phone number? Would you store that as fixed length or variable length? Extension. See, it depends. The answer is it depends. That comes to knowing your data. What if you're storing international phone numbers? Holy cow, they're not all the same length. You definitely don't want to use fixed length. You want to use variable length or something like that.
Specify times, and I said this before, when you want to maintain your database. Yeah? This is important. You have to give your time because you have to rebuild indexes, you have to make changes, you have to roll out new words, you have to patch the systems. Yeah? Security doesn't get better. Operating system have bugs all the time.
In the United States, we're still figuring this out. But if you're leading a company, no, to be better at changing things. The improvements that DevOps brings and the ability to quickly change things, to quickly adapt to increased regulation, to quickly respond to data breaches, is going to be very attractive to CEOs. From a manager lens, what do you care about? You care about your team's performance. Important. You really don't want your team. This diagram is from, it's simplified down from a much larger diagram. I'm a huge fan of this book. The book is called Accelerate. The book is by Dr. Nicole Forrestgren, Jez Humble, and Jean Kim. They are the...
And we can see now how far has it come? Well, about halfway. So it's not very fast. Let's see if we can find out why what it's like. And I got a procedure here that is not common with SQL Server. I will talk about where it comes from later on. And I will use that 53 is a SPID for the order, the customary, the freight, the current discount. And then he gets the data about the customer, the country and city, and then he goes on determining the discount. So he's looking at the discounts table of the customer. Speaking. Anyway, these are the two statements. These are the two statements that are taking most of the time. And those are the accesses to the temp team. So, and why are these taking a lot of time? Well, first of all, we can see that this loop has completed.
SQL is a so-called fourth generation language, which has a completely different paradigm. In SQL, you describe the requested end result. So instead of going through the morning ritual like I just did, this is more like my boss sending me an email, be in the office at 9 tomorrow, oh, and we have a customer meeting, so wear plans. With an important customer. And he cares that I am at the office in time. So with databases, you describe the end result. We are still dealing with collections. The collection is now called a set. And in SQL, the result is described by applying something.
So you've got a pretty much long development cycle. The red dots represent some sort of release that's happened. So there's quite a lot of code been written, quite a lot of functionality been developed, and then all of a sudden we're going to do one massive release. We're going to raise the bar by 30 quality steps. So if we've got a straight line, yeah, all good. We've deployed to production pretty much as we wanted to do. But then here something's gone slightly wrong. We've had to roll back a little bit, and it's quite hard to roll back just some of your changes. It's much easier to probably roll back all of them. But if you're doing this in a live environment, obviously that's got its own challenges.
Stuff that's second nature to all of you, I have no idea about. So that's always an opportunity for everyone to learn. So if you thought about speaking, I was going to ask you what you think it takes. But to me, honestly, it's just got to step up here. It's about, what, 10 steps, 15 steps from your chair. That's really all it takes. A laptop helps, but you can come up and you can do a presentation without a laptop. You can, if you have markers, you can do something on the whiteboard. You can do shadow puppets. You can do semaphore. You can do all kinds of craziness and all that. It is easier than you think it is, and the topic doesn't necessarily even have to be technical. It could be.
All right. So my name is Marcelo. I'm not from around here. That's pretty obvious at this point. I'm a database consultant at the PTM Group, which is a Canadian company. I currently manage a SQL Server user group, PES user group down in São Paulo, Brazil. I'm an occasional blogger, dbbits.com. It's there, the URL. I own a couple of certificates, a couple of Microsoft certificates. I also own an Oracle certificate. I already got one database here. It's already synchronized. It's already there. It's the primary. All right.
It is. It says containers are awesome. That's what it says in that particular file, which is true. So from within the container, I'm able to reference volumes that are outside the container, and I'm showing you the results of my cat command. Yeah? This is one way to do it. see. Now I'm going to run SQL command, still in the bash shell, in that mounted volume. So I had made that backup already, obviously. And it's just sitting there on that volume that I've now mapped into the container.
Let's do the wave. We'll start over here. Ready? Ready? Go. Awesome. Thank you. You guys are terrific.
Down here, we're pulling back our databases into 3 different array variables, and then we're going to use those to check where our scripts are going to go further down in the script.
Question.
Yes.
Why scroll back up a little bit?
Okay. That in this particular case, that probably doesn't need to be there. There are some instances where you have code that's or value that's returned, and the default value, unless you specifically tell invoke SQL command to go beyond that, it will cut it off.
So, like I said, virtually unlimited, right? You do pay for what you use. So as I need more, I can get more, I pay for more. But one of the other nice things is, in most cases, it's almost instantly or near instantly available. I mean, even if you're doing IaaS, right? You say, oh, I need more storage, I add it into my VM. Yeah, sometimes you gotta reboot the VM, especially if it's a Windows machine, because Windows machines require reboots for just about everything. Unlike the Linux world. And we'll talk about that later. But for the most part, instantly available, right? So you have a lot of less limitations there compared to...
Because we already have the entire data set in our Power BI report, that's what we built the rest of our visuals off of. We don't actually need all of these different columns. We only really need the ID to join. We're okay now. After I've updated this, I've saved it. I have to go copy paste that code, recopy it into Power BI, then I have to change all of the manipulation steps. One thing we can do as well, and this is actually a cool tip that I picked up at the Business Application Summit in Seattle in November, or in July rather. Is anyone there at that conference? Awesome. Yeah, so in one of their sessions, they introduced this cool little trick. If we use just the source function in R, and we use the connection string to our R file, if I hit OK.
So you go and pick, I had dragged these 6 elements, remember I had dragged these 6 elements on here, and I just dragged them on as placeholders. I wouldn't normally position them like this. And then you go and connect up the data, and it's really, really easy. I mentioned earlier that Report Builder was originally designed and really well suited for the power user, the Office, the Excel guru. This tool is just a step above that, in that it could be really easy for junior or non-developer to get started on doing some stuff like this, because you would still write a stored procedure. The tools. So at the end, whether it's a SQL Server Data Tools publish, Report Builder publish, or Mobile Reports Publisher, they all publish to the report server. In SQL Server Data Tools, it's a right click. I publish, one of my customers is in the cloud. I right click deploy, and it goes up to Azure.
And you can detect errors quickly and fix them more easily. Here's the picture. So what we have Brandon. Brandon writes some code, commits it up to source control. Then we have Hamish. He does the same thing. But of course, we do some testing and stuff, and we get a failure, and Hamish is like, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't use regular expressions. So the cool thing is, I get immediate feedback. I remediate, we test again. Woohoo! I can now package and deploy my database code. The continuous integration isn't the whole story, because here's what happens out in the real world. I do some unit testing. We do some build testing. We do human testing. But then we back up. So we have to do wasteful rework. We did some great stuff here. Over here, that's not so good. Introducing a better way. Continuous delivery, number 4. So, we do unit testing. We do our builds. We deploy out to a little build system and we get immediate feedback. Cool. That's continuous integration like we did before.
That's right.
Is that where you went last
2 years ago.
This is a Hamish Watson. G'day. This is a Warwick Wright. Hang on. Neither of them are managed instances. My name's John. I'll be presenting a session on introduction to managed instances down at Oregon SQL Saturday. If you want to know what they are, how to use them, how to get your data into them, come and check out my session. Cool. See you soon.
Short and sweet, beautiful.
That's the new Central One office I'm in as well. I was wondering where that was. Okay.
Nicely done.
That is the new office.
Were they drinking the Kool-Aid?
Sorry?
Drinking the Kool-Aid game?
Someone has been, although we have got 4 beer taps at the moment. We're going up to 12.
No Kool-Aid needed.
We've got, so there's, where the office is now, within one block we've got 5 breweries, 2 distilleries, cider house, and there's sort of like a bowling alley microbrewery place as well.
This is why nobody ever answers when we call. Ask for support, it's like, oh, the system's down. We'll be back.
So, and sometimes that's not viable, okay? Managed instances being brought online to help address many of these issues, to really help us with that. Okay, I can't re-engineer everything. I need SQL Server instance, but I don't want the overhead of having to do all the patching, all the management, everything like that. Okay, platform as a service. Basically, you deploy the managed instance, we connect to it. Microsoft do all the backups. Microsoft do all the provisioning. They do operating systems, all the patching. They take a lot of the
case that they're mutually exclusive. And we can denote that in our little Venn diagram like that. We can notate this by saying A union B equals C. So that means that if we take all of the elements of A and union those elements with B, we get the parent set of C. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it is the universal set, but it's certainly another set. So A and B could be subsets of C. C could still be a subset of something else.
We also have meetings once a month. On the second Wednesday of every month, they are totally open meetings. Anybody is invited. You don't have to reserve, although it's really nice because, among other things, we supply some free food, and we like to know how much food will go. What? Somebody said something? That's good. So if you're interested in learning more, it's free, totally free, even the free food that we supply.
Which is really nice. Really nice. So I haven't started yet. I can start now. So it's really important that the attorneys be able to save their time that they spend. You know, they could be in the shower about a case. They're gonna build that. You know, they're gonna build like crazy. But you gotta have some software to. I'm not kidding. It's real.
I know that.
And they work 24 hours a day too.
SQL agent is not available to us. It took a little bit of time and it's still broken. When it first came in, what it allowed us to do was to see the agent jobs that we've got. We could see the history of those agent jobs. We couldn't do anything else. That's been improved, and if I come into, we can see that I can actually run a job.
What we're going to do is we're going to go through all the things that make this terrible and how we can move forward. Yes.
Are your slides going to be on the site?
Yes, they will. Sorry, I haven't uploaded them yet, but I will. They will be there. Unfortunately, my slides don't have lots of notes or things like that, so it's best that you actually have to talk and pay attention because otherwise the slides might not make any sense at all. But let's see how we go. Okay.
So as you can see, the price of 1 Ether right now is $196 decimal points, right? And so this is ETH. This is not Ethereum. Ethereum is a platform that allows anything the off-chain governance plus 20% of that on-chain governance.
Milliseconds for CPU, 2.2 seconds elapsed time. And I like to look at elapsed time because if you think about it, at the end of the day, I'm waiting for that query. And it's not 500 milliseconds for me, it's 2.2 seconds. And maybe more, depending on what the application is doing.
See, it depends. The answer is it depends. That comes to knowing your data. What if you're storing international phone numbers? Same length. You definitely don't want to use fixed length. You want to use variable length.
Specify times, and I said this before, when you want to maintain your database. Yeah? This is important. You have to give your time because you have to rebuild indexes, you have to make changes, you have to roll out new words, you have to patch the systems. Yeah? Security doesn't get better. Operating system have bugs all the time. There's going to be hardware upgrades. You want to buy it, you want to make it better. You need to reserve time, and the SLA is the place where you do that. Yeah?
This is my favorite part of this. As I mentioned on that, my previous employer, first week got there and they said, just change this ID number. So in South Africa we have our identification number of 13 digits, and throughout the years there's certain requirements that change in our ID numbers that were restricting us to not specify race inside of the ID number. So what happens is people call in and say, okay, I've got my new ID number, can you change it on the system for me? Go and you change it, and by accident forget to select your wait clause.
That 16-second window we had where it was active, then the new record came active, and it's valid all the way into the far future. Yeah, we see that we had a change, but if we look at the actual data in those rows, yeah, no difference at all. So we still get that extra row that we didn't really, but if we do a delete, the record's no longer in the main table, but we do have the record in the history table that we just deleted essentially.
No, I just write that. I just write that way. Monthly, and then you'll have a team member who'll go, no, I want, and then you'll have transactions. Sorry, you get the idea. Yeah. Transactions daily, year.
You mean they make sense, the names?
Well, but someone on the team will go, no, I want all the daily ones grouped together.
Yeah, so it's a daily.
Right, daily trans, daily sales. And so you're going to have a lively conversation on which one's better.
What about column name equals
right
versus as column name? That's a hot topic.
As.
Now here's the beautiful thing is if you use something like Redgate SQL prompt, you can go in and you can have you want equals, I want as, you want commas before,
right? Before versus after.
Then you can do that, and you can do your Control Z, and you can format it, and you can write all your code.
Yeah.
But then before you check it in, you go into SQL prompt and you change it to the company convention.
Yep.
Because again, if you check it in that way, and then I try and do a diff on source control, it's useless.
Yeah,
So then you can go and use prompt to the company standard before you check it in. You go check it out. You go. I do it all the time. I go pull some code someone before me run. First thing I do.
Remember that it's just a conversation. Try to listen and make sure you're eliciting information from the other party, right? To test those assumptions. Reframe things. Again, putting yourself into their shoes. Perspective taking. What does it look like to them, right? How do I help solve their problem? Whoever helps solve the problem for the other person is the one who gets the most value. In the relationships phase, don't blame the person. Don't confuse the problem with the person. I was the honest best person.
And I work for DesignMind. DesignMind is a San Francisco-based company. They are all about data, big data. We work with many technology partners over there. My niche in the company is Azure and BI and Power BI and everything data related in Azure. Those are some contact information there. I'm LinkedIn, Twitter, don't tweet much. Facebook's more for personal stuff, but they put it in the template of this slide, so it's there. All right. So back in March, I made to the Microsoft Build conference. Build conference, the one for developers, right? And Scott Guthrie was delivering his keynote. And at some point in the keynote, after presenting a bunch of other things, he showed this particular slide in here. And he mentioned, when I look at this slide, I say, okay, SQLDB I'm in, Postgres I'm in, MySQL I'm in, Redis Cache I'm in, Cosmos DB I'm in. But as I look at this slide and I listen to him, I was like, whoa, things have changed so fast and so subtly that
your job, the quality of your work, the quality of your career. I don't like spending hours, days, weeks. Excel, we broke it, then they imported it into, how many of you have a table in your database called sheet $1?
And when you install it, you will get a base environment. Never work off the base environment. Leave it alone, don't touch it, create a new environment and work in that. And as you do different projects, you'll see where, hey, as I go to this project, I should probably create a new environment that has just the packages I need and work in those packages. And then when new versions of those packages come out in that project, don't just update them in that environment, because it might break stuff. Create a new environment, install those new updates, port your code over that, and make sure it all works, and you're all good. And then you can delete the old environment once you know that it all works. And I'm going to show you in a second how to create those environments.
On the IT side, it's a little different because we want to make sure our QA environment has the same value as our prod environment. So we can use the system to actually make sure that what QA sees is actually what's in prod. And again, it'll go through the actual results and the reconciliation process, and then finally the reporting. So what's this look like from a business process? You know, generally a business request will come in, and it will always depend on the different environments.
The bottom left point here is 0, 0, right? So if you think of the point 0, 0, it's right there. And if you think of the point 20, 20, well, it's 20 to the right and 20 up, right? This is every chart you've ever seen in the world. Does that correspond to everybody? Okay. 80 by 80, well, that's right there. Well, to make life interesting, SVG doesn't draw things that way. SVG doesn't have the base point here at the bottom left. It has it at the top left, like it were Microsoft Word, or maybe more accurately, like it were a web page, okay? So if you have the point 2020, you would expect it to land right there. Where it's actually going to land is right about there. So what you end up having to do is all of your y coordinates, you have to flip them. It's actually pretty easy. Very interesting. Polyline against polygon. It goes from that point to that point to that point to that point, and it's great. Hey Brian, why didn't you pick yellow? You could pick yellow. Your decision makers might want that. I would recommend, from a visualization point of view, that all your actions are either based on being above or below your range of acceptable behavior. You're not going to call a store and tell them things are fine. You're going to call them and say, hey, you're below what your sales should be. We need to change something. Can I help you? Or you're above what your sales should be. What are you doing so I can replicate it elsewhere? So we want to draw the eye towards the good and the bad. The just okay, we want to ignore. That's why it's great.
Hello. So I'd like you to look at everyone around, find somebody in a blue shirt, smile at them, and say thank you. The volunteers made this rock. Thank you, volunteers. It worked well, it flowed well, it worked pretty decently for all of us. What about the facility? You like the building? The rooms worked okay? Traffic flow, everything was working good for you? All right, excellent. Let that show up in your evals. Give the event eval as well. Let us know. Give us your feedback. And, you know, we try to improve every year, so we use your feedback to do that. On your way out the doors, there's going to be a couple people with lanyards in their arms as a reminder to you to recycle them by leaving them with those people, unless you really want it. And if you really want it and you're going to use it, please be our guest. It's there to advertise and remind you about the Oregon SQL user group. Knocked it out of the park, Jeff. Thank you. And your crew. Let's give some things away. So, who in the audience are Laker fans? So, let's give away SQL Monitor. SQL Monitor, if you haven't used it, is a phenomenal tool. It's got a retail value of 99 cents at least.
You got jokes, so.
What is the price of retail price of Monitor?
So it's actually $14.95, but
$14.95. I want two of them.
And it goes to Alberto Sensabala.
Oh!
Yeah.
All right, so the first prize from Quest is a wonderful package. When somebody pick it up and hold it up and flag it around, of Stumptown coffee. If you're a typical Northwesterner, you're addicted to coffee. We have to be. Look at the outside. So Stumptown's decent coffee, and the winner for that is Brian Barnes. All right, we have a winner. So Quest is also going to give us a $100 Amex gift card, and that goes to Grace Lighty. So, Cozy Rock is also one of our... Wayne Duke? Duck? Where's Wayne? And we're going to draw for that, Vern. The winner is Bob Hall. There's Bob Hall.
Every winner has been present so far. That's pretty cool.
Is this being recorded?
It is, yes.
So check with this lady over here, and she got your prize down here.
Oh, I get to take it with me.
And you get to take it home with you. Thank you. So the next option, the next person that gets this, and I'm going to slaughter the name. My apologies. Prosenjut? Prosenjut Singer. Really?
Dave Dubarney.
Really?
Yay!
Really?
Hold on. You can send an email to Brian O'Donnell and get it directly.
All right, we're going to pull somebody else. That was not good. It's good, but Dave has another option.
What kind of back scratching organization are you running?
A very good one. We have happy people.
Well, Dave told me earlier today that he's never won a raffle.
You won a raffle! Now you don't get anything, but you won.
The real winner is Ashwini Tumala. Oh.
Has it got a camera built into it?
Yeah, video and...
Video and? Oh, cool. Your neighbors are really going to love you. The winner of this one is Queen Lan Yi?
Yeah, here.
All right, good for them. From Century 1, we have another drone, the Millennium Falcon. And we also have
Bundle pack of SQL Century and DBA Express or BI Century and the BI Express bundle. Basically software licenses worth a lot of money.
at least 99 cents.
$1.50, come on.
50 cents?
Rafal Zambrano.
We have a winner! Rafael Zambrano with the Millennium Drone. Thank you. Now we have a really, really cool gift from Interjet, a USB monitor. Somebody's going to monitor the USBs you have. What does a USB monitor mean?
It's just a nice little small
Like a computer monitor.
Okay. So the winner is.
Winner is.
Let's see. Comma Simon. Where's the camera? Right there.
All right. So Joe is going to come and make a drawing, give it away, make somebody very happy, take it with their children, if the children ever get a chance to use it. I know more than one families that have multiple Xboxes because that's the only way the kids got a chance.
Leon Orlov. Where are you? There you go.
Leon, welcome, Leon. We appreciate your attendance, and we hope that you'll come again next year. We're tentatively scheduled for November 2 next year. All right? Thank you.